we fall into such a trap of when we're working with closing a deal, we want to just email them. It becomes so easy so that us and even our teams are just kind of pounding emails, and eventually they stop working and people don't care and they start deleting the emails. And that's why we're not closing deals that we should. Well, I talked to Arian Radmand. He's from IgnitePOST, and he has found a really unique way to kind of separate and differentiate from the group that's just pounding with emails trying to get deals closed. And what he does, IgnitePOST, they send personalized letters, but they do it at scale because they have robots that write it out with an actual pen. So it's not perfect. It doesn't look like a perfect font that a printer printed. It looks like a real handwritten letter. And what they're doing is you can put in what you want it to do and it'll send out, mail it all out for you so that people feel like they're getting that amazing personal touch. And it's really differentiating. People are using it or differentiating in a big way. He calls it moments of surprise and delight, which I love. And I think you're really going to like this. There are ways that you can differentiate in your marketing that you may not have thought of yet. And Arian's got some great ideas for you. Definitely check this out if you want to close more deals.
Welcome to Scale Your SaaS, the podcast that gives you proven techniques and formulas for boosting your revenue and achieving your dream exit. Brought to you by a guy who's done just that multiple times. Here's your host, Matt Wolach.
And welcome to Scale Your SaaS. Thank you very much for being here. Really glad you're here. Thanks for coming and listening. We're here to help you scale your SaaS, exactly what the show is called, so that you can learn how to sell more, you can learn how to close more deals, grow your company, and all the fun things that come from that. And I am elated to have one of my own clients with us today, Arian Radmand. Arian, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. This is great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you being here. Let me make sure everybody knows who you are, Arian. So Arian is the CEO and President at IgnitePOST. And IgnitePOST is a service that helps brands create magic moments for their customers. Their real pen and ink handwritten notes cut through the digital noise to surprise and delight customers exactly where they are in their shopping journeys. They do some incredible stuff. I can't wait for you to hear about it. He's also the former co-founder and CTO at CoachUp. Arian knows his stuff when it comes to growing a business. So Arian, I'm so glad to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to dive into this. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff to get through.
Oh, for sure. So tell me, what's been going on with you lately and what's coming up?
Oh, wow. So do you want to know on the personal side, professional side, anywhere? It doesn't matter?
Either, whatever you feel like.
Well, on the personal side, I'm super excited. I'm getting married later on this year. So getting married in a couple months here. So I'm in the throes of wedding planning. So you know how that is. So a little bit crazy.
If it's a couple months away, it's definitely crazy time.
Yeah. But I'm super excited. So I've got that going on. And then with the business with IgnitePOST, Q4 is typically our busiest. So right now there's a lot of prep going on in terms of getting ready for Q4. So we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up. So we've got some things in the work there, some prep going on there. And then obviously around the holidays with, Christmas cards and Thanksgiving and everything, it gets super busy. So right now I'd say, kind of end of summer is a lot of prep work. So a lot of stuff going on in that realm, I'd say.
I would imagine for sure. Yeah, definitely. Now that you mention it, I bet it's a huge time for you. I want to go back though. So how did this whole idea for IgnitePOST come about?
Yeah. So the whole idea with IgnitePOST is really to help brands develop relationships with their customers at scale. And actually the kind of concept came more so when I was at my previous business at CoachUp. Essentially what we were doing, we were connecting athletes and private coaches in about 30 different sports all across the nation. But from doing that, what I realized is that the athlete and coach pairs that really performed the best and did the best, there was a reason, and it was because they developed this really strong bond and this really strong relationship over the course of their training. And so what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to replicate that aspect of the relationship building, but give brands a way to do this at scale. And I really noticed that there were two major trends happening, which was the whole idea of why I thought it was so important. And the two major trends were, number one, digital saturation. right now everybody is crushed in the sea of what I like to call digital noise, whether that is, an email inbox that just is exploding on a daily basis, whether it's, digital ads that get pushed our way on literally every device and screen that we own, SMS, messages, you name it, notifications. And I didn't see that trend as declining. If anything, it was going to get worse, right? There's going to be more of all of those things. So that was number one. And then the second thing I saw is that brands were actually losing the ability and the credibility to connect with their customers in a way that they can get their message across, that their customer would actually believe and trust them, right? The first thing that you do if you hear of any new brand or any new product or anything that you're thinking of using, what do? You go and you read reviews, or you see what everybody else is saying, but not what what brand is saying. So that means the two big major problems out there were, one, being able to actually reach your customer and cutting through the noise. And then when you actually reach them, having touch points that will actually develop the relationship so that they trust what you're saying, so that when they decide to come back and purchase again, they purchase from you and they don't just go somewhere else. So, I guess that's a long-winded way of kind of the journey of how I got to where we are. And so with IgnitePOST, that's essentially what we aim to do. We aim to help brands develop a deeper relationship. And the way the product works is really aimed at solving those two major problems, those two major trends that we saw. So that's what we built. And the way that we went about it is our platform is part hardware and part software. So the software is designed to integrate into marketing automation platforms, e-commerce platforms to meet our customers exactly where they are, so they don't have to, go learn a whole new tool. So it's really designed to integrate into the platforms that they already use. And then on the other side, our hardware. So we have a fleet of robots that will hold real Bic ballpoint pens and will write out real handwritten notes in an actual handwriting style. And the combination of the two allows any brand to create a very perfectly timed and crafted moment that really drives users to action. And so that was the whole idea, was kind of putting those two together. And that's really where the power comes from.
I love it. It's so wild for me to think of these robots writing out letters, and the fact that it's with a real pen means it's not perfect, because I think we've all seen it where we order these cards and we get it in a certain font that looks like handwriting, but it's printed out perfect and there's no mistakes and there's nothing. And so you know it's not really handwritten, but these look legitimately handwritten. So you're literally
Totally.
personalizing at scale, right? Oh wow, look at that. For those of you who are seeing the video, you can see them all right there. It looks like a real handwritten letter. You're personalizing at scale, and I think that's a big thing. You're impacting. Yeah, look at that. That's insane. That's amazing. I love that you brought some visual aids. That's perfect. So if you're listening on the podcast right now, go look at this on YouTube, and you'll see it there. And he's got the writing there on the card. It's really cool. Personalization. It's a great way to, like you said, get buyers to kind of believe in you and trust you. And it shows that you care about them. It's not just some mass blast thing. And I think that that's really special. I'm sure that people using IgnitePOST are seeing benefits of that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting too. So when you say personalization, there's so many different layers, like an onion. You can pull back the different layers of personalization. And to your point too, we actually, when we talk with customers, we actually don't even call our solution direct mail, because it is so different. And a lot of times if you say, oh, we're a direct mail service, people do think of that kind of mass marketing, mass mail, and they do a lot of what you mentioned, right? Having these fonts that kind of look handwritten, but you can really tell this just came out of a printer. You're not fooling anybody. If anything, you're insulting me. So, we purposely don't even call the solution direct mail, just because it's so differentiated. And then the results are different as well. So, when we compare ourselves to, if we work with a company that has done direct mail before in the past, our barometer, so we typically perform about 10 times better than direct mail. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we fall. So those are just some kind of quick stats, but happy to dive in more.
I love that. 10 times better. I think that that's echoed if you were to look at, say, you're doing an email campaign, right? If you were just to do a mass blast email campaign and spray and pray and hope, you're probably going to have results that are 1/10 as strong as if you actually went and looked at somebody, did some personalization, showed them that you care about them, and really aimed at one person. That is much stronger. Same thing here. This feels very personal. People get it. They see, hey, this person cares about me. I didn't even realize it. I'm not just one of several thousand. And I think that's pretty big. And it's a way to differentiate, right?
Totally way to differentiate. And keep in mind when we talk about personalization, nowadays everybody views themselves as a VIP, right? Everyone wants to be treated like a VIP. Everyone thinks that they're special and they deserve to be treated as such. And so a lot of the things we do when we work with brands is figuring out how do we inject those points within the customer journey to give people that feeling, right? There's a very easy way to make somebody to stand out from the rest of the brands because nobody's doing it, and to make your customers feel like a VIP that leaves a lasting impression so that you can turn, a first-time customer into a raving fan that comes back again and again and even refers you, right? So a lot of the work that we do with brands is really examining the customer journey and figuring out where are these points that we can inject some of these personalization, but really how do we inject some points that really hit home with people. And the way we actually do that is actually using a lot of human psychology and some putting a little bit of science behind it as well. So there's a few principles that we like to follow when we're examining the customer journey and giving our advice as to where we should, put these touch points in. So one of the things along the sides of personalization that you kind of asked about is so there's actually a lot of data out there that shows that as a brand, if you can connect your customer with the artisan behind your service or your product, that it creates that kind of emotional connection and bond that gets people to come back again and again, right? And this is kind of how humans have evolved over time, right? In the past, what happened is if you wanted to go and buy, a chair or a table, you actually went and talked to the artisan and said, I want to buy a chair or a table, and you actually talked to the person that made the thing that you're going to buy. Now, fast forward in the age of, Amazon, you can go and buy, a blender or anything, never even interact with a human being, right? You go, you can search, you can buy something and it will get delivered, and you have no idea of the effort or who went into actually making that product. So one of the things that we do, one of the most effective things that we do with brands is figure out points along the customer journey where we can actually connect them with the people behind the company that actually are, performing the service or making the product. And what we found is that humanizes the brand a little bit more. And as people, we want to buy from other people, right? And so if you can do that, and this is a very simple, easy way to do this at scale, is to simply have a note come from whoever the artisan was at the brand that went into actually making the product or packing the product or whatever you want. It's a very simple, easy way to, at scale, connect your brand, humanize the brand with your customer, and then the customer becomes a customer for life because they feel that bond, they feel that connection. So, but to your point, it all starts with this idea of personalization and how do we go deep and how do we really give someone that unique VIP personalized experience.
We'll be right back. Scale Your SaaS is supported by ToroWave. Lots of software leaders I talk to are looking to scale their SaaS. And I keep hearing over and over about one major struggle: getting ghosted by buyers after the demo. How frustrating is it when you have a great demo, you're feeling good, they like it, it seems like a done deal, and then crickets, nothing. You reach out, they're not responding to you at all. And when these software companies, they ask me to dive in, I notice that these sellers are following up the wrong way, or actually I should say with the wrong medium. What they're doing is they're hammering emails over and over again. I got a news flash for you. Email effectiveness is dwindling down and down every year. So why beat your head against the wall losing all kinds of business? Start texting, mix in texts along with emails and calls, and watch your conversion rates go up. In fact, conversion rates go up by about 50% when you use texting as part of the follow-up. People are used to it. And did you know the response rate on texts is 98%? 98%. So why throw emails into a black hole knowing that they're never going to get returned? Text buyers and get results. But don't use your own phone. All kinds of security and compliance issues if you do. Also, none of that data is with your company. That's not good. Instead, use this system, ToroWave. ToroWave is designed for sales. It makes texting with buyers super simple and fast, and it helps drive more deals. Deals that you've been losing until now. For being a listener, you get 50% off your first month of using ToroWave. 50% off. Just go to torowave.com/scale. That's TOROWAVE.com/scale. Get signed up and start winning more deals like Tracy, who closed $170,000 in 3 days after starting. Again, go to torowave.com/scale. Catch up and win by texting with ToroWave. And we're back. I love that. I totally believe in that. And that's something we talk about a lot is how do we remove the feeling of this is this corporate amorphous brand that people can't really connect with to there are people here and you can connect with those people. And you're right. When you feel connected to them, the buying is much stronger, much more often, much higher. One example I think of is when I was in college, we lived in an apartment and there was one shop that was right downstairs that was a little more expensive. It was like a convenience store, like drinks and whatnot. Yeah. A little more expensive. But then there was another one just a block away, not far, that was much cheaper. But my buddy, my roommate, would always go to the more expensive one because he had a connection with the owner of the shop. And he's like, well, I just like taking care of him. And so it was so funny, even in college when you're poor and you have no money, he was willing to spend extra money just because of that personal connection. And it really resonated with me. And when you talk about it, it's so true. And, you know, we talk about it with our members and our clients, how do we tell that company founding history so we can connect people to the founder, to the people at the organization, as opposed to just hoping that they like a brand. That's a very difficult thing to do, to get them to like a brand. Get them like the people there is much, much easier. I'm glad you guys are doing that. Sounds like that's really, really working.
Totally. It's definitely working. And, you know, it's interesting too, because a lot of the recommendations that we give brands when we work with them really stem from just how human behavior, right? How do humans behave? And that's really where we start. And then everything else flows from that. So it's interesting because people forget, you know, this thing called the internet has only been around, screens, right? Have only been around for a couple decades here, but humans have been around for millennia. And so as humans, we have not evolved to, you know, operate online and everything. We are social creatures and beings that learn about our environment by actually interacting and experiencing it and touching it, you know, tactile feedback. And so that's one of the things that we also talk with our customers about a lot is, listen, this is just how humans have evolved, right? If you put something in the hands of a person, it's going to mean more to them because our reptilian brain kicks in, and when you get tactile feedback on something and you actually can hold something physically, it actually connects with you subconsciously more. So it strengthens that bond between whomever sent you this thing and the actual recipient. So a lot of the stuff that we do starts from human psychology and kind of looking at, well, what is human behavior and how do we leverage some of those things, because those are just things that are innate as humans that we can't turn off because that's how we have evolved over time. So a lot of the techniques that we use, and even kind of some of the other examples that I gave from, really stem from that of, all right, as a human, we're already hardwired to really value things that get sent to me. So how do we super personalize those things, and how do we position it and time it so that that moment really becomes something that's super impactful? Because as a human, we can't shut off that area of our brain and kind of ignore it and have it not be impactful. So if you're a little bit thoughtful with your timing and what you're sending, it's very valuable for a brand and for a business.
I love it. I totally agree. Sometimes we forget about that human side of it, but that's what buying and selling is. It's all about that human interaction. I want to know, and this is I'm loving this conversation, but I want to know, I mean, you did a great job of getting this company off the ground, taking it forward, serving a lot of people, becoming successful. What were some of the early things that you did, Arian, that really helped you guys kind of get going and get some momentum?
Yeah, well, talking with customers for sure. That's something that I feel is understated, and everybody says it, but um, it actually making a point to talk with, especially while you're early and you don't have that many customers, really developing a good relationship with them and really getting as much information out of them as possible is something that's super critical. So that's something that I would do for sure. And even like to this day, I still have that kind of built into my routine, where even on my way home, every now and then I'll just pick up the phone and call a couple customers with no other reason other than to just kind of check in and see how things are going. But I can't understate the value of just talking with customers and just not even probing and kind of looking for more business, just in general, trying to understand what are you doing, what's working, what's not working, and just kind of tell me more. And just uncovering and kind of peeling back the different things they're doing. And from that, taking some of the learnings that you find from talking with customers and then, putting it into your product or using that as data points when you are making decisions as to what to build and how to build is super important. I'll give you one great example is a lot of the things that we actually built with IgnitePOST in our software has very little to do with the actual with our actual technology. So one of the things that we did is we found that a lot of the people we were talking to were marketing folks, and they weren't like software engineers, they weren't developers. My background's in software engineering, so a lot of the integrations and everything that we built were designed to be kind of more deep integrations that work really, really well. But a lot of times we're a little bit too technical for the people that were actually using the product. And so what we found is that we needed to scale that back a little bit. So what we did is we talked to a bunch of people and found that everybody who was a marketer, they were used to the world of emails, right? They could create and send emails and trigger emails whenever they wanted, but to get them to actually use our integration or use our API, that was something that was just unfamiliar to them. So what we did in the product is actually built a way, like we kind of met them where they were. So we built a way that as a marketer, they could trigger our handwritten cards simply by triggering emails that they were already used to doing whenever they needed cards sent. And so, to your point, like some of the early things that we did that helped us grow were just removing friction points. And sometimes it was just kind of thinking outside of the box of, okay, well, you don't know how to use this interface. Fine. What do you know? And here, we'll make it super easy for you. So just talking with customers, understanding what they're doing, and just be willing to do things that are unconventional just to make things easier for people, I think was a huge help getting started and on getting off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's amazing. I've preached, talk to your customers, talk to your customers, talk to your customers. And it sounds like you guys have learned a lot about how to improve the product and also maybe how to sell to them more. But my guess is that you've improved your churn rate and your retention rate because these conversations, people feel like, oh, I know Arian, he's a CEO. They feel like they know you and are more connected. So have you seen that? Have you done any studies on that? Or is it just more anecdotal that you feel like the churn rate is better, is lower because you have that connection with your customers?
Yeah. So I don't have any data. Anecdotally, I can tell you that seems to be the case, especially when people start to get to know you and they start reaching out for some other suggestions of like, hey, I'm thinking about doing things X, Y, and Z. What are your thoughts, right? So anecdotally, when people start just reaching out and kind of wanting to engage with you to just riff on ideas and just think about what are some other things we can do, anecdotally, that's how I can tell those things are working. However, we have definitely worked with customers and helped them increase their retention rates and reduce their churn rates for sure. And that we actually have a lot of hard data on. So that's an interesting segment as well, because our solution is really a retention solution. That's our bread and butter. A lot of the brands we work with, that's exactly what they use us for, is to help reduce churn, to help extend customer LTV by developing that relationship and by injecting those points of surprise and delight at a time where it would make sense. So that we have a lot of data on. For our own business, it's more anecdotal, but we definitely are seeing people come back again and again, and then also look for other opportunities once they kind of get their initial experiences set up. They look for other opportunities to expand as well. So those are the trends that we like to see.
Fantastic stuff. As we wrap up here, what advice would you give to other early stage software leaders as they try to, grow their company and make things happen?
Yeah. There's probably a bunch of advice. I would say, so one of the things that I have found super useful is putting together a mentoring council in areas that, I'm deficient in. So, you can't be an expert in everything. And so one of the biggest pieces of advice I would have is figure out what are the main pieces of your business that are going to be important or critical to your success, and then go and look for the best people that you can possibly find to mentor you and give you counsel in those areas. So that was one thing that I did early on. That was learning actually from my previous business that I carried into this one, is to make sure that for all of those kind of critical areas, I have somebody that I can, literally just pick up the phone and call and talk through, that knows a lot more than I do. And then I guess to piggyback on that point too, the other thing is being able to figure out how to delegate and shift responsibilities as you grow the business to your team members. And so having a team, being able to know what team to put around you and trusting to shift responsibilities to them is also critical to growth. Like our team here is amazing. Everyone at the company in their role is much better at the role than I was, but you have to start by doing it all yourself, because you don't know what roles you need. You don't know, who to hire unless you actually start doing it yourself first. So you've got to start there. But then, as quickly as you possibly can, getting the right people in the right place that know a lot more than you do about those specific roles, super important. So like that's my whole concept, is how do I go and put better people than me in the roles and then set them up for success.
I love it. Super great advice. That's an awesome way to scale, is to figure it out yourself and then put somebody in place who's better than that. And wow, now you've got a team of experts who is absolutely crushing it. It's a great way to grow. And also, everybody out there, you heard him say, basically, just go find Matt and have him help you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right, Arian? That's what you said? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Verbatim.
Well, this is great. Arian. I've learned a lot. I really appreciate you coming on. Obviously, I think we have a great relationship already, but it was fun to hear your story and share it with our audience. How can our audience learn more about you and IgnitePOST?
Yeah. Well, so the easiest way, and one of the coolest things, is I would actually say visit ignitepost.com. and you can have one of our robots write you out a sample and mail it to your house. So if you visit ignitepost.com, you'll see there's a button that says get a sample. Click on it, fill out your info, and one of our robots will write and mail you a sample. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with us and to see what we're all about.
That's super cool. I definitely recommend that. It's some really slick stuff that they're doing over there. Arian, this has been great. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hey, Matt. Thanks so much for having me. This was awesome. I always love chatting with you.
Likewise. And everybody out there, thanks for being here. By the way, we are looking for reviews. If you think this show is helpful for you, please give us a review on Apple or Spotify. That's really helpful for us. Lets us know what we can do to improve, but also shows other people that this is a great show that's going to help them scale their SaaS. So thank you very much for coming, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Scale Your SaaS. For more help on finding great leads and closing more deals, go to mattwolach.com.